Following on from the last lesson, we're now going to progress one step at a time from playing the arpeggio exercise exactly as learnt towards being able to freely improvise over the B-flat blues, or indeed over any sequence using the same method. Initially, this requires a lot of mental input, and until you get used to it, the speed of mental processing required is likely to be the thing that sets a limit on how fast you can follow the sequence, regardless of how nimble your fingers may be. So I've prepared two backing tracks, one at full speed and one slow. We'll use the slow one during the lesson, but both are available from the toolbox to the right of the screen. First step is to play the arpeggio exercise absolutely straight. Have a go at playing along with me. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sticking pretty closely to the notes provided by the arpeggio exercise, we'll begin to introduce a bit of rhythmic and melodic variation. To do this, rather than trying to complete each arpeggio pattern, simply take a few notes out of each of the arpeggios and group them together, leaving pauses in between each group. Something like this. About this is constantly staying alert to whereabouts you are in the sequence and shifting in good time to the arpeggio pattern you need for the next chord. So I'm thinking B flat, what's next? E flat, back to it, B flat. Always thinking ahead. E flat next, another E flat, and back to B flat. G, C, F, back to B flat, up to F, and notice that it means starting on whatever note comes to you quickest, not necessarily playing the patterns from the notes we used in the exercise, but whatever note you find yourself on. Right, I'm there and I want E flat, so I'm thinking now I want B flat. Whoops. Put the glasses on. And now I want another B flat. E flat. B flat. G. And so on. Notice that it also means you may play either in a descending or an ascending direction. Just go with the flow, quite literally. Sometimes you do neither. You simply play a couple of notes out of the pattern, hedging your bets, no commitment to playing either ascending or descending. Let's give that a go against the backing track. I'll play over the first verse, but then I'm going to let the backing track carry on for a couple of verses to let you practice. Tricky keeping up with the changes, isn't it? Don't worry, it does get easier with practice. Next, try deliberately starting each phrase on an upbeat. Now, if you're using the alternate picking method, then this literally means playing the first note of each phrase with the pick moving in an upward direction, not a downward one, like this. Another essential knack to getting a real jazz feel to your soloing. And again, it doesn't come easily without a bit of practice. So here's the backing track again for you to have a go. Step is to really listen carefully to what we're playing as we're playing it and try to shape it into something of a melody. As you try this out, you will inevitably lose track of the changes quite a bit. When this happens, don't be afraid to trust your ears to continue and complete whatever melodic idea that you're developing as best you can. Whilst you're doing this, another part of your brain has to get busy listening to the changes so that you can get back on track. To help with this, use the arpeggio exercise as a sort of safety net. Playing the arpeggio pattern straight may sound a bit uncreative, but it will never sound plain wrong. Here's an example of me trying to create some melodic ideas, losing track of the changes, and then using the arpeggio exercises to re-establish my bearings. Okay, let's find a melodic idea for B flats. Oh, E flat. B flat. E flat. Use the arpeggio pattern. Okay, now it's your turn to have a go at that. Here's the backing track. Finally, for this lesson, let's start to add some notes into our improvising that aren't in the arpeggio patterns. Here's a graphic image to help you visualize this process. If you knew this crossing well, you'd know that some of these stones are nice and solid and can easily take your full weight. But others are quite wobbly and unreliable, and you would only want to touch them lightly with your feet as you skipped across the river. Well, relative to any given chord, notes of the chromatic scale have a very similar characteristic to these stepping stones. The chord tones, which are the notes we use in the arpeggio exercise, are the solid, reliable stepping stones, the ones that will take your full rhythmic weight. But the notes in between will vary in their reliability, and it's generally safer to skip lightly across them if you don't want to get a soaking. Let's see if I can demonstrate what I mean. First, here's an example of me playing in a way where I put my full rhythmic weight only on the chord tones. Okay, now let's see what happens when I put my full weight on some of the less reliable stepping stones. Sound of me drowning. So I hope this analogy makes sense to you. I'm sure it will when you start trying it yourself. Remember, we're just trying to link chromatically from one chord tone to the next, bridging between the reliable, safe stepping stones on the main beats. Here's the backing track again for you to have a go at this. Stay dry. Please do take into account that it will take most people many hours of practice to use this approach to improvising successfully and confidently. But as you find yourself arriving at a level of improvising ability that actually relatively few guitarists ever achieve, I'm confident that you'll sense a big payoff for your efforts. In the next lesson, which is the final one on this course, we're going to take a closer look at the relationship between the arpeggio patterns and the chord shapes behind them. We'll show you how to blend a nice bit of chord work in with the arpeggio-based ideas that we've been over in this lesson. So I look forward to seeing you then.